joke, blah, 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 and nobody laughed. And they were all like, this is going to be on the test. Can you spell clitoris for us? But the only time, actually, it wasn't just Tuesday I didn't get any laughs. I only got laughs on the first and second days of my courses when I tried to call the roll. And after every person's name, and after tonight hearing Becky and Maury introduce the students, like I didn't know who they were talking about. Like, oh, that's why they're laughing. And I stopped calling the roll after I got to Hannah Shimlin's. She's not here, so I can say it. Hannah Shimlin's name. Hannah? Hannah? Is there a Hannah in this class? And she looks at me and says, I'm Hannah without an H at the end of my name. And I'm like, what? So somehow I was pronouncing Hannah with an H, and I am still worried about that. So now I just call everybody you. Hey, you. Speaking of names, that's my one transition. That's so funny. You know, you're going to be the odd people out when you go to your American college. And I'm just going to make one name suggestion. Martins. Martin is a sacred name in the United States. Unless your last name is Luther or King Jr. You don't name your name Jesus Christ. And you're not going to believe this. There was I just read about it on the internet this morning. There was actually a woman who named her child, but this is in England, Messiah. And the judge made her change the boy's name to Mike or Matthew, I think it was. But anyway, so these things happen. So I'm just going to suggest that rather than Martin, Marty's good. Marty's good. MC. M. And if you go to the same school, you could be Eminem. Do you know where Martin comes from, though?
Him or the name?
The name Martin comes from.
No idea.
So Tito's going to tell us where Martin comes from. Audience interaction.
Yeah. Some people are from Venus and others are from
Mars. The two most peaceful people here are actually named after the god of war. So, okay. Well, congratulations. This really was not going to be a comedy routine. It just, you're laughing, that's so kind. You know when a person needs a laugh, and you know, and you're not going to let me down. But congratulations on finishing, for most of you, I think, a whole year here, maybe a few, one semester, but you finished a year's worth of college. And this is not just your average college. This is a very special college. And one reason it's so special is that the staff does everything it can, and my three colleagues over here follow the staff and not letting our students drown, not letting our students fail. So the rash of you people who have been harassing me this week about your grades and doing makeup, and I'm like, where do you want to be? You know, I do these Zen the things. Like, you're right where you are. Right, I'm trying to say, I don't know, you're going to be okay. And I don't know where this lack of confidence came from, but I know somehow the education didn't quite complete itself. Now, it's just every day at where I usually teach. It's like, well, I didn't take the test. Can I do extra credit? I mean, that usually starts on the second day. I wasn't in class. Did I miss anything? Like, you didn't miss anything. No, I mean, just 60 minutes of brilliance and no, I didn't. And of course, but I was really surprised here. But I rationalize it, intellectualize it, because you got a lot of stuff coming up. It's just not the final. But it's real easy to project onto, one concrete thing. But, really what you're anxious about is the unknown. And I know many of you have studied in the United States, but that's a different thing than going to college and traveling out of your comfort zone to America, which I don't know why you want to leave Norway, frankly, because I love it. Okay, so I'll get on with it. Anyway, so I just got a couple of things, believe it or not, to say about education and travel and how the two intersect. And I have 3 travel stories, pretty short. 2 are absolutely true, and they show the failure of education. And the last one is not true, and it shows what education can mean. And first of all, education does not usually take place in a classroom. I mean, you can learn stuff, but it's how you use the stuff that helps with the education. Well, anyway, so I was trying to use some of my language learning of Spanish and a little bit of French to approach Norwegian and try to understand Norsk. And so I chose what's called the Pimsleur approach, because Pimsleur was the only language learning software that had Norsk. Rosetta Stone, which is the most popular, has every language in the world except Norsk. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I kind of intuited when I got to lesson 30 that this was kind of like for men, picking up women. And I've since read a few reviews, and my sense was correct. So one weekend I got on a train down here in Moss and went to Gothenburg, and I had my Pimsleur and I had my headphones, and we're going along. And one thing about the Pimsleur approach is that it depends on what they call spaced repetition. So they'll say a word, and they'll say it over and over and over and over and over again in different parts of the conversation. And there's always a conversation, and it's always started by a man, and the respondent is a female. So the chapter I was on, the man says, I'm trying my Norwegian for the first time here. Kan I kjøpe deg en kopp kaffe? And the woman says, no. And the man says, ønsker du komme hjem til meg? And the woman says, no. And the man says, vil du gjerne jeg skal komme over til stedet? So funny. To your place. Okay. And the woman says, 9. That's your spatial repetition. 9. And the man says, har du lyst til å gå ut med meg? And the woman says, no, vær så snill, la meg bli alone. And the man says, "None." And the woman says, "Go Bort," and the man says, "None." And just as an added little thing to that, I also get Norwegian 101, and I get a word of the day every day. So for a year, I've been getting a word of the day. And here are some of the Norsk words. Arm, yes, arm. Baby, TV, Sydney, Africa. Fast food. Radio, cat, broccoli, and Blacksprut. You never know when you're going to meet a Blacksprut. Okay, and so the point of my telling you that story is I was on that train and the conductor came by and said, after I finished this several times over, you must have headphones on when you listen to audio. And so I very dramatically and regally, queen-like in my serenity, took out my headphones. And I said, "What?" And she said, "You must have headphones in your ears to listen to audio." "What are these?" No, I didn't say that, but I said, okay, I'll just turn it off. And I looked down, and a little cable had slipped out of my iPod. So there's a whole car of people listening to me repeat these words. And a few weeks later, Masaba and I were back on the same train going to Gothenburg, and I saw that it was the same conductor, and I said, "Excuse me, you probably don't remember me." She remembered. I said, I just want to apologize. I didn't realize that had come out, and I was really embarrassed. And she said, "Well, everybody could hear you, but no one wanted to say anything." Because I didn't want to embarrass you. Because what you were doing was really embarrassing. Okay. The other very brief travel story, it happened when I was living in Vermont, upstate Vermont, and I had been to Montreal many, many times, and it's just a straight shot up. And I had a friend living in Toronto, so I decided, well, I'll get my car, go to Montreal, cross over to the west. But when I got to Montreal, I ended up in the French-Canadian section, which is not called French-Canadian, it's called Quebecois. And this is not your schoolroom French. Okay? The French disown it. It's like they disown Cajun. So I'm driving around, and I finally get off and go to a gas station with my man.